As someone who's been doing YouTube for over a year now, I have had several video ideas that I ultimately scrapped for a variety of reasons, whether it be the scope of the project or just my general interest in it. And most of these projects just sit dormant in my Canva Designs tab or my Google Docs, never to be seen again. Until today, of course. So to celebrate reaching 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to use this video as an opportunity to talk about all of these cancelled video projects, how far they got done, and if I'd ever reconsider making them. Some of these videos barely made it through the first phase of production, and some had me working on them for quite a while. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as I go over all of my cancelled videos. The first video I started working on that never made it to YouTube was a video where I would discuss every single mistake I could find in the FNAF Character Encyclopedia, a book riddled with flaws and errors. The only thing that remains of this idea is this thumbnail I made, which, looking back, is way more basic than what I would make now. Also, I want to use this time as an opportunity to talk about my process when making videos. Whenever I come up with an idea I like, I always start by making the thumbnail, as in my opinion, making thumbnails is the most fun part of YouTube. This is why most of what's left of these projects is just a thumbnail, so keep that in mind for later. The reason I ultimately cancelled this one is that the scope was just way too big with how long the book was, and I just generally didn't care that much, so I probably won't return to this one. Our second video for today is a video I planned on making at some point before the release of Into the Pit, being a video on how mascot horror was making a huge comeback with the release of games such as Poppy Chapter 3. Even though I never ended up fully realizing this idea, this is easily one of my best thumbnails in my opinion, besides this extremely low quality image of Into the Pit from the trailer. I also had a script for this video that was about 1/3 of the way finished, but if I ever ended up making this a reality, I'd have to just completely restart the script, as it's nowhere near my quality standards of today. I could see myself revisiting this idea, but it would have to be more of a retrospective, since these games have already come out. This was a video that I planned on making right before the release of Unplagued, which, if you didn't know, is a multiplayer game from the Euphoric Brothers, aka the guys behind Ban. The reason I never ended up doing this one is because I was honestly really uncertain if I should even cover Ban on my channel, as I had pretty major doubts about this video doing well. Obviously, I would eventually cover the series with my video on Ban 0, but at the time, I didn't really feel like this video was worth making. Also, Unplagued was absolutely awful. If you've been watching my videos since the very beginning, then you probably remember the two videos I made on Indigo Park, being a review of the first chapter, and a predictions video for Chapter 2, which I will definitely be remaking at some point with all the new information, by the way. Anyways, at some point, the game was updated with several visual improvements, and just general fixes to improve polish. Originally, I was going to talk about all of the changes, and what they meant for Chapter 2, but as I eventually realized that most of the changes were, again, visual, I didn't really see much of a point in covering it, although I will absolutely be covering Chapter 2 when it releases. A similar thing happened with the Doors content update last year, but I'm not talking about that in depth, as all I did with the idea was make a community post, and never ended up making a video on it. This one is actually a somewhat recent idea I had, being a simple retrospective on the glitched attraction, which if you've watched my top 10 FNAF fan games video, you would know that this is one of my favorite FNAF fan games of all time. However, looking back, I realized that this idea was basically just me thinking the thumbnail looked cool, because there have already been plenty of TGA retrospectives, and I don't think I'd have much to add to the conversation anyways. This was a video that I planned on making right before the release of Secret of the Mimic, where I would go over all of the pieces of evidence for Tales games, and why Secret of the Mimic was going to confirm the idea. If you don't know what Tales games is, basically it's the idea that every Tales from the Pizzaplex story is canon to the game's timeline. However, if you've both read the books and played Secret of the Mimic, you would know that Secret of the Mimic absolutely shuts down the idea that Tales is canon. I'm not joking when I say that the only reason I didn't go through with making this video is because I couldn't find good renders of Jackie and the Mimic for the thumbnail, as this video was in production before Secret of the Mimic. Although I am very glad I didn't go through with it, as playing Secret of the Mimic for the first time would have been a humbling experience to say the least. For our last video on the list, we have a video that, of all the ones I just talked about, was by far the one that made it the furthest into production. If you guys remember, I went on a bit of a hiatus during late 2024, which was mostly due to me having slight burnout after grinding for several months. Now, while part of that break was just me taking time off from YouTube, the other part of it was working on a huge video I had planned, where I would do a complete retrospective on every FNAF fan game from Garrett McKay, one of my personal favorite fan game developers. While I wasn't posting videos at this time, I was still talking about stuff on my community tab, and all of the posts from that time talking about a project in the works were regarding this video I had planned. I spent literally a week just writing this 14-page script, and it took tons of research, a lot of which was spent playing all of these games. If it wasn't obvious at this point, this project had to be canned due to the fact that its scope was way beyond my reach and expertise as a content creator. So despite making the thumbnail, finishing the script, teasing it on my channel, and even recording a few audio files that have since been deleted, I had no choice but to ultimately cancel this project. And that was a look at all of my cancelled video projects over the months. Some of these were ridiculous ideas that I realistically could never actually make, while others just had one or two things that made me decide to move on to other videos. This was a really fun trip down memory lane, and I'm super glad that I was able to make a video like this to show you guys some behind the scenes on my creative process. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart for 1,000 subscribers, and please let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see any of these ideas redone, as if I tweaked a few things, I could probably see some of these be fully realized. But anyways, that's all from me. I'm Supersonic, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.